if I could go forward, what would my 90-year-old or 100-year-old self tell me today that I would do? What behavior, what modification, what would I do that they would go, oh man, thank you so much. They'd like give me a big old warm hug, and just like hug me because they're old and somewhat infirm and frail, but they would just be thanking me and grateful that I did something. How does money influence health? How does that all play together? And so there's this big narrative around money and happiness and health. The two are inextricably connected. How do you get it? How do you keep it? And how are those things connected?
Welcome back to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DiCioccio, alongside our co-host, Dave Ragosa. And today, we have a visionary entrepreneur joining the show who has founded and led successful ventures throughout his career, including a Fortune 500 company where he served as the CEO and chairman. He's a thought leader and an author who has spent his career shaping the future of financial services. He's also an expert in longevity and how it influences financial planning, helping individuals achieve their goals through health and prosperity. Welcome to the show, the founder of Longevity Financial Partners, Jon Sabes.
Thanks, Mike. Great to be here.
Hey, man, love having you. I want everybody to know if you're interested in Jon's information. I got his website and social media clickable in the show notes. And if you guys have been regular viewers of the show or listeners of the show, we appreciate you being here. And you might notice that my co-host is back in action. Dave, welcome back to the show, brother.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
Yes, we're excited for your connection. And Jon off camera shared a little bit about his excitement to get to talk to you a little Ford's Garage connection going on. But before we get there, Jon, I do want to congratulate you on the success of your new book, Healthy, Wealthy Longevity. It's doing very well. I got a chance to kind of review the notes on it. And I love the subtitle. I just want to, I always love a good book when it has like a catchy subtitle. The good things in life for as long as possible. Amen to that. I really want to start the conversation right there. So share the origin story of when health and wealth became a focal point for you. Like, how does one actually influence the other, in your opinion?
Yeah. Wow. How does health and wealth influence each other? That's a show in and of itself. They're so inextricably connected that it's just a topic that isn't talked about enough. And really, I think that's one of the things in this book that's explored in a way that, again, isn't talked about. How does money influence health? How does that all play together? And so there's this big narrative around money and happiness and health, and yet there is just some incredibly startling research that talks about how much longer people who do have financial wealth live longer than people who are on the lesser side of financial wealth. So the two are inextricably connected. So the book's all about how do you get it? How do you keep it? And how are those things connected? It's been a great journey. It's a super fun book. And that's what life is all about, the good things in life, and for as long as possible.
Yeah. And I think it's so important. A lot of people we cover this a lot on the show. They have a hard time talking about money and finance and almost look down, like as we grow up, we look down on people who, at least I grew up blue collar. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, if you can tell by all my memorabilia and stuff I've collected over the years. But currently in the outskirts of Philly, but I kind of grew up in that blue collar mentality. My father worked at Ford, not Ford's Garage, the restaurant, but he actually worked at the Ford stamping plant. And it was this mentality of like, you work hard, you make money, and you have enough to be happy, and we're healthy, and that blue collar chip on your shoulder. But then it never was about like, okay, how can we really change that mindset and get into wealth? And that's what I've been learning how to do in the last 5 years of hosting and producing the show. And so if you can kind of piggyback on that idea, okay, so now we understand, the health, and we maybe have that taken care of. And now we're doing well, whether it's in business or, it could be a W-2 that's doing extremely well and taking care of their family, whatever that looks like. And now it's the longevity piece of both of those, because once you have it, you want to retain it. You want to continue to capitalize on it, right? And stack a lot of wins over the longest period of time, your lifespan. So Can you talk about some of the ways that you've educated people on, once you have it, how do you compound on it?
Well, I think wealth and prosperity, financial wealth, financial prosperity, like health, is lifestyle. It really is lifestyle driven. And I don't think it matters whether it's blue collar or white collar. It's lifestyle driven. Are you passionate about your work? Do you care about your work? Do you do great work? And so if you're doing that and then translating that over into lifestyle, what is your lifestyle like? Is your lifestyle, caring for your health? Is it designed to care for your health? And so I've just naturally been living a life that way, probably because of my parents and how they thought about health. And so I was naturally had a lifestyle and an inclination to do healthy things, not all the time. But as I've grown older, and my career took me in ways that I didn't expect in financial services, into molecular biomarkers of aging and health. And I got to a deeper understanding and a way of thinking about health. I was then also led to the blue zones and research about lifestyle. And I really was able to connect how lifestyle drives so much of our health outcomes. And so that's what I would say to people is the one big takeaway is your lifestyle, and that's again what the book is all about. Your lifestyle with respect to your work, with respect to your health, that's the big driver on how long you're going to live and how much prosperity you're going to enjoy, and ultimately how much happiness you're going to get to explore throughout your whole journey. And once you've got that, you just want to keep that going for as long as possible.
For sure.
I think my big takeaway on that is they don't need to be separate. Your lifestyle is collective. It is your health, it's your wealth combined, and your well-being, it goes everything, your happiness, which we have control over. A lot of people don't think they have as much control over it, but it's interconnected, right? So Dave, I want to give you the floor here for some follow-up.
No, so I was going to say, Jon, I love what you're saying. It's funny. I want to say probably 4 or 5 years ago, I started designing my weeks and my months and my years based on my activity. So historically, I would have packed my week in of all the things I need to do for business and family and all the crap you got to do in your life. And then it's, can I fit my workout in? Can I fit my running in? Whatever it is. And again, like I said, several years ago, I just started looking at my schedule and saying, okay, I'm going to build in my training regimen, my eating regimen. And then from there, I'm building my work and my life schedule post that, if you will. And it's been a huge shift for me. Certainly, kind of to your point, Jon, kind of keeping a focus on health and wellness. Certainly, as I getting ready to turn 50, which is crazy. It's gone super fast, but it's a real priority. But a follow-up question I have on all that is the unique story, right? So you go from financial planning to I call longevity, right? More so than anything, which I'm super focused and intrigued on too as I get older in age. When you see those two interactions, how do you see the future, right? You have AI now and other functions. So, I see AI as actually a tool to help maybe someone who's not financially stable kind of get a little creative. There's a lot more knowledge out there, right, that normally you wouldn't have got. But how do you see the two kind of moving forward, right, the next 5-10 years? What does that look like, kind of combining the two?
It's really exciting times in health and longevity. I think in general, it's just incredibly exciting times for all of us. It's probably, again, it's easy to say, but I think it's the most exciting time to ever be alive. And so when we think about AI and technology and specifically health, and I write about this specifically in the book, which is what we've seen over the last several years. And my last company, we were commercializing molecular biomarkers of health and longevity. And I had a front row seat into the development and maturation of two independent technologies. One was the creation or maturation of DNA sequencing technology, mass DNA sequencing technology, similar to the technology that allowed for 23andMe and other commercial DNA testing platforms. So that happened, right? The others, the first genome, right, was decoded for a cost of $3 billion. I think it almost took 2 decades to do. It's the Human Genome Project. Today, that genome can be decoded for the cost of a plane ticket. The second thing that happened, which you refer to as AI, we back in the day, we talked about it as machine learning. So machine learning has this incredible capacity to recognize its pattern recognition. That's its strongest tool that it uses. It's pattern recognition. These big language learning models and chatbots, right? It's language. These are pattern recognition of language to be able to spit something back that makes a lot of sense. So when we have this pattern recognition technology with automated machine learning, these robots are able to analyze literally, trillions of bits of information to come up with very unique patterns. And so we're on this cusp of what we call precision medicine and precision health, where we're all going to start getting lots of information and insights about our health at a molecular level, and your heart, your cardiovascular, your neuro, cognitive functioning. That all comes from molecular health. And so if we can edit things and change things at their source, at the molecular, at the small bits, right, we can really have better control and manage what's happening in terms of a system and a functioning level. So I think that's what we're going to see. The tools that researchers have available to them today are just incomprehensibly powerful. And we've seen things like CRISPR come along, and we're just going to see so much more that I think will radically change the landscape of health and longevity. I say for all of us out there, the thing that we can do is improve our lifestyle, number one, and keep ourselves healthy and living for as long as possible to then get the exposure to the benefit of what is on the near-term horizon.
And do you feel near-term horizon, Jon, is that 5 years, 10 years? When do you think kind of we'll get there where it's almost as, brushing your teeth every day, like folks are kind of using the platforms or technology on a regular basis?
My crystal ball is as good as anyone's out there, but it's near term. I mean, that horizon you're talking about, 5 years, we're going to see massive change and opportunity, I think, in our own health and longevity. 10 years, who knows? I mean, who could have imagined, just a year ago, I could tap in an actuarial question into a chat bot, and it's going to spit out what I would have had to hire an actuary, tens of thousands of dollars to do in hours, and then give me some. So I think it's coming much, much faster than we can all anticipate right now.
Yeah, I agree. We use AI in our business all the time. And just about a year ago, when we were really getting comfortable with it compared to what it can do and what we know how we know how to execute it, today it's incredible. I mean, it literally, I use Monica.ai. It's not a partner of the show or anything or a sponsor, but it's a form of ChatGPT. It's got the latest and greatest ChatGPT built into it, and it's constantly updating and getting smarter and smarter. And I ask it to do some intricate tasks, mostly word, but problem solving, like what would make sense in this situation? How would you move forward? They give really accurate, good feedback, and you can roll things out almost immediately, opposed to, oh, we're going to take a day. We got to think about it. We got to hire someone. We got to talk to someone. It's like immediate action you can take. I want to hit on one of the terms in your book is Healthspan, right? A lot of people think about lifespan, longevity in life, but Healthspan. So I want you to talk about enhancing your health span, but not just like theoretically. What are some things, like maybe 2-3 things on a daily basis that you do or you can recommend to Dave and I and our listeners to actually just simple things you can do to really improve your health span?
Sure. A couple of concepts. One is lifespan. That's the one we're familiar with. That's how long we're alive. Health span is the time at which during our lifespan we're in good health, that we are not suffering from one or more chronic diseases. And the thing about aging is a steady decline. I'm 58, chronologically speaking. Biologically, I'm younger. That's another topic we can hit, but basically aging is this decline. And so we're all going to experience a physical decline.
Can I pause it, Jon? Just really interested in that thought, and I think a lot of people tuning in are too. So obviously we all know our biological age, but how do you assess your, you said like your fitness age is less than your actual biological age? Obviously you could feel and look great and everything. Is there a way to truly measure that?
Yeah, so it's our chronological age. That's your birth date. So chronologically, I'm 58. I've been on this planet. I've ridden around the sun 58 times. Excited to go on my 59th.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Biologically, and so again, this was sort of my own journey in financial services. I was working, of all things, in the life insurance industry. And in the life insurance industry, right, the thing they have to do is sort of estimate how long you're going to be alive, because that's how they price your premiums. And in that space, and you know how they do that, right? They take your blood, right? They say, guy shows up, takes a couple of vials of blood from you, ask you to pee in a cup, and then they spend 3 weeks looking at medical records to try and figure out if you're basically, in poorer or better health than the average 58-year-old. Right? And that's what they're going to do.
Yep.
And so really what they're trying to measure, right? Are you aging biologically faster than your chronic? Because your single biggest risk factor for death is your chronological age. That's it. You put 158-year-olds in a room, or 100 guys in the room. The guys that are the oldest chronologically, they're the ones at the highest risk of death. So what we're trying to do, going back to your original concept, is we're trying to slow down biological aging to stave off, to push off the onset of chronic disease, because it's not one thing that kills you, it's everything. Everything collapses on you. And so as you age, your risk of chronic disease increases exponentially. So if you can keep that biological age younger, you're staving off the onset of one or more chronic diseases.
Right.
And that's your highest risk of death. And it's also that's when Healthspan ends. That's when you start having to rely on others. That's when things aren't so great as they used to be. And so you want to maximize your health span into your lifespan. As I like to say, you want to drive your health span right off the cliff like Thelma and Louise, and boom, right off into lifespan. That's it. I'm done. It's very
just to follow up on that though.
It's very expensive to be unhealthy. It's all these things are. So I'm going to just come back now to biological aging. In my career, and for entrepreneurs out there, my advice to you is, when you're working on anything, and I don't care what field you are in, go deep. Just keep going deeper and deeper. I'm telling you, the answer isn't the next shiny object out there that comes along. Oh, that's got to be it. That's your mistake. And what I learned in my experience was I just kept going deeper. Like I just kept unraveling the onion, and I getting to smaller and smaller, more details in my business. And through that, I discovered there's this thing called biological aging with the epigenetic clock. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I was commercializing basically a saliva test that could measure your biological age, measured with this thing called the epigenetic clock. Epigenetics is your epigenome. It's called gene expression. And so that tells you basically how your biology is aging relative to other people in your cohort. And so that was the technology I was commercializing to try and get the life insurance industry out of the 1960s and bring them into the year 2025 with a saliva-based kit, and get people out of blood and urine specimen collection, and like really modernize that industry. So that's what I was doing. That's what biological aging is as measured by the epigenetic clock. There are other ways to measure biological ages, but the epigenetic clock is a very fascinating measure. It's proven, it's real, and so I walk people through what epigenetics are, what gene expression is, how does that impact aging, again, in my book, and that's a really important thing to learn.
That's awesome. So step one, get your book, and then step two, is there a way to get these tests? You mentioned that it sounds like something that you've created or been a part of. Is that a product that is available to the public?
Yeah, there's several testing firms out there that offer an epigenetic testing for a biological clock. So it's definitely out there. Some are better than others. I'm not, I don't sort of know the state of the industry that way, but yeah, it's a very, very real measure around how. And it is certainly correlated to all-cause mortality.
So if you had three guys, they all had the same exact birth date, they're all 50 years old, they take those three tests, now you're really going to get to their biological clock opposed to their age,
chronological.
Right? Yeah, chronological.
Yeah,
thanks, Dave. That's why I brought you back on the show. I need your help. The other half of my brain.
Yeah, that's basically the question I asked Dr. Steve Horvath at UCLA when I contacted him about this thing called the epigenetic clock. It was featured in the cover story of Nature magazine because I was so pissed. Our business relied on predicting mortality, and we weren't getting it right, or it was like, we got to be able to do better.
Yeah.
I can do all of these things on my phone. There's got to be a better way. And I started reading peer-reviewed science articles. I'd never read a peer-reviewed science article in my whole life. My team wasn't doing it, and I was yelling at them, and I realized I was yelling at myself. I mean, like, John, get to work. And so I started reading every peer-reviewed article I could. I understood what DNA was. I didn't really know what DNA was. Again, I explain it in the book, what is DNA? And then my brother, who had a PhD in chemistry, put this cover story from Nature magazine about this thing called the epigenetic clock on my desk. And I read it, and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck is this? And so I emailed Steve Horvath at UCLA, and I'm like, hey, you're blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, come on in. I came into his office. I go, let me get this right. I got two guys, both age 50, but one has a epigenetic age of 60, and the other one has an epigenetic age of 40. Are you telling me that the guy who's epigenetically aged 60 is going to die much sooner than the guy 40? Oh, without a doubt. And he's a Harvard-trained Austrian biostatistician geneticist, right? With unflinchingly 100%. I'm like, holy shit. Okay. and then I go, well, that's interesting, because on a life insurance question, the question number one is, how old are you?
Yeah.
Right? That's why they ask the question. The next question is a genetic question. Are you a male or a female? Right? The next question is a lifestyle question. Do you smoke or not?
Do you like to go rock climbing in the dark?
Yeah, I said it to I said that to Dr. Horvath. He goes, oh, if they smoke, I could tell you not only if they smoke, but how much they smoked from this epigenetic methylation measure. So what it tells you is lifestyle is driving gene expression.
For sure.
And that's why lifestyle is so important. So your question is what do I do personally, every day, as I think about the things I'm doing in my lifestyle, because I know I'm impacting gene expression. I'm impacting my health at the source. And that's the key takeaway. When I learned that, I was like, holy shit. I was motivated. I was just interested in taking care of myself to begin with. And I'm like, holy shit, I can't unlearn this. Mm-hmm. I really can't unlearn this.
So John, when you say that, right? So all of us kind of have a lot of things going on in our life, or pulled in different directions, family, kids, work, right? Average male, right? All of us on this kind of podcast today, kind of to our audience, give me 2 or 3 nuggets that you say, okay, the basic guys, you need to start doing this. Like tomorrow morning, I'm waking up, I need to live. I have a BHAG on my wall. John actually says, live to a healthy 100. My kids think I'm crazy. I'm like, no, I put the word healthy there too, because I believe I can make it to 100, but I want to live a healthy 100, right? To your point, intentionality. But what are 2 or 3 things that you can do tomorrow, right? From a guy who's sitting on the couch and has not doing anything.
Yeah, well, I think you hit first is intentionality, right? Have the intention to do that. That sets the oar in the water. That sets, there you go. So now you can start pulling on that oar. What do you want to pull on the oar? Well, there's 4 things, without getting the specifics, but I'll tell you, eat wisely, okay? And eating wisely can mean a whole bunch of different things, but what it doesn't mean is Fruit Loops, Frosted Flakes, and a bunch of alcohol and smoking some tobacco, okay? That's what it doesn't mean. Beyond that, if you like steak, eat steak. If you like vegetables, eat more plants, okay? Number 2, move. And I'm talking move. You gotta move, okay? You gotta move. I don't care if that's walking, running, weightlifting. Whatever it is that you feel good about moving, move. Number 3, live with purpose, man. Find some purpose in your life and engage in that. Purpose can be work, church, family, friends, just get it. And then 4th is stay connected. Connect with people, connect with others. So those are your 4 things. Find something in each one of those categories that keeps you going each and every day. For me, I journal, so I do my daily journal, and that's my own little self-coach, and that reminds me to do one or more of those things. And it's small little bits. You don't swallow the whale tomorrow, so you just do it one little bite at a time.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I'm on a health journey myself right now to lose 50 pounds in 6 months, and I just been watching my intake. I do the gym minimum 3 times a week, walk 7,500 minimum steps a day. And surprise, surprise, I'm on pace to do it. So I lost 4 pounds in 2 weeks, and
I was going to ask you that. Good for you, Mikey.
Yeah, I'm down 4 pounds. So I'm trying to average 2 pounds a week. And all I did was just change a few simple things. Now, walking 7,500 steps, I work from home. So that was a little tricky, but I got a walking desk. There's like no excuses now. I literally could stand and work and walk at the same time. So those are really good. But the health side of it, you covered, and it's not groundbreaking there, earth shattering, because everybody knows, like, watch your food and move. But the 2 additional points you made were really good. I love the idea of being in the right community, because your mindset, it just continues to grow when you're around great people. You can lean in on them, and you can also be the person supporting someone in your group. And then the other thing you said was purpose. And I love that. That's what the show is all about. We're on purpose to do Mic'd Up, and I'll do this if one person's tuning in. If we feel on purpose that we can help that person, I'll do it 1,000,000 out of 1,000,000 times. And we talk a lot about living a fulfilling life intentionally, and that's what you're talking about here. So I'd love you to share some of the things that you do to be intentional about living your fulfilling life, but also what brings you joy in this moment. Like when I just said the word joy, what came to mind first?
Well, I guess being here and talking to you guys certainly brings me joy in the moment. Grateful for being here.
Right back at you.
And talking about bringing this sort of message to people. I guess I was really excited to write the book from that perspective. The journey of writing is really unique. I'm a big self-help kind of believer. I've been studying it for a long time, the book's sort of a blend of that self-help. It's scaffolding, if you will, on how to think about these things. I forget, Mike, what exactly, what do I do specifically? I mean, like for me today, just my habits, things I'm doing every day is I'm weightlifting at 58. I'm all about muscle mass. So, I used to be an ultra marathoner type guy. I was did Ironman shit and this and that on top of my businesses. Like I was just, absolute fucking maniac type A, type of guy. And I don't even know how the people in my office could stand me, but they loved me for the most part. The ones who told me anyways. But today, as I approach 60, I turned my attention to maintaining muscle mass. As we age, we lose massive amounts of muscle mass. And so I'm focused on that. I love sauna. I love cold plunge.
I was going to ask you.
I think those are just great therapies just to keep your circulatory system and everything just really, sharp and going. I love playing with my dogs. I love gardening. I just love to move and be outside and enjoy just Mother Nature and being alive.
So I have
Amen.
two follow-ups though, if I could, John. One, and just kind of get your perspective. I read different studies in cold plunge every day, don't cold plunge every day. What's kind of they say if you cold plunge every day, your body obviously gets accustomed to it and used to it, and it doesn't have the same reaction as it would if you're doing it every other day. And am I going for 5 minutes or 15 minutes? What's kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if my body's ever going to get used to cold plunging. I don't know who those people are. I mean, I even met them. I've met some of them. They jump in the ice water and they're like sitting there for 5 minutes. I'm like, I'd be dead. So for me, and this is what I would say about everything. It's not prescriptive. Like if getting in cold water for 10 seconds is too much and you get out, then great. Same with sauna. You get in, I'm like, well, how much you should do? You should get in and get warm and get hot and try to break a sweat. And when you get too hot, you get out and you get cold. What I say is when you're doing sauna, do 3 sessions. So you want to get warm, cool off, get warm again, cool off, get warm again, and now you're done. So that's sauna. If you could mix that up with a cold plunge in between, even better. That contrast, right? Going hot to cold,
Yep.
That's thermogenesis. You're actually working out your cells at a molecular level. It's like your cells doing a bicep, right? It's going hot, cold, and so you're like you're moving them, and so that's what you want to be. That's what you want to accomplish. There's I'm not prescriptive on how much this or that. If more is good for you, great. Remember, too much of a good thing kind of is a bad thing. So just always keep that in mind. So just be mindful.
Oh, that's great. And if you had, so follow-up question is, some folks say, hey, I only have 30 minutes, right, to get started and do a routine. What is your,
Great.
again, recommendation, right? So that 30 minutes, am I doing cardio? Am I doing weight training if I'm 50 plus, right? I know it's a tricky question, but love to kind of get your perspective.
I'd rotate it in. If you got 30 minutes, I mean, I would one day I'd focus on the majority cardio, but walk with a weighted vest, right? That can change a walk to a quite different exercise. So I love a weighted vest walk. I think that's a great way. If you're doing weights, mix in a jump rope, so I don't know. I do 50 jump ropes between my weight sets, and that feels pretty cardio to me. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. I think, variety is the spice of life, except for my wife. So we're still together. But for me, I'm always kind of moving, and whatever feels natural and fun, that's what I gravitate towards. Because I don't know about you guys, but I really don't like doing things I don't enjoy. So it's like move towards that which you enjoy, but also don't be afraid of kind of pushing through some pain sometimes. Recognize, you got to move through some of that discomfort to get to the other side. It's worth it.
That is such great advice. And I love that message right there. That's kind of the key takeaway I'm getting from this is just do more of what you love. But even when it's something challenging, incorporate something you love into it. So, hey, if don't find yourself getting to that treadmill, well, what do you love to do? Like if there's a show, you could put Netflix on the treadmill while you're watching it. Or is it learning or reading a book? I saw a guy at the gym yesterday who was walking backwards on a treadmill reading a book. Now, he wasn't going super fast to be safe, but like he was still you could tell he loved reading. Guy literally brought a book to the gym. So that's really great advice. Whatever you love doing, don't stop doing it. Do more of it, but incorporate some of those challenging things in. And, I could just see it. You're thriving because you have that figured out, and you've really, you've executed that at a high level. So we see it. We can feel that in your energy. Obviously, you're living on purpose and in joy. And here I go with a really smooth transition. Speaking about joy, what brings me the most joy, Jon, is doing the show, hosting it, and producing many of our clients' podcasts as well. And that's what we do at Social Chameleon. So shout out to socialchameleon.us. Transform your podcast if you're looking to have a great looking and sounding podcast and excellent content on social media that's going to really perform. Go to socialchameleon.us. We'll take care of you there. Transform your podcast. And then also we're recording this on riverside.fm. They provide great audio, video quality. So then when we go into post-production, we have everything that looks incredible right there. Riverside.fm. And then lastly, for the audio distribution, we personally use Libsyn.com, Libsyn.com. They've been around for like 20 plus years. Don't see them going anywhere anytime soon. So again, shout out to our sponsors who allow us to do the show. So let's hypothetically all jump in the DeLorean for a moment. Who doesn't love Back to the Future? All right, we're going to time travel, Jon. And if you can go back and change anything about your past, or you get the chance to go into the future, maybe double down on something you're already doing, what would it be? Would you go back and change something, go forward, double down?
I don't go back, so there's no looking back for me. What's in the past is in the past, and we look forward, and so that's a easy one for me. Even if I had the chance, all the mistakes I've made, there was a reason, there was a learning, and I understand that, and I carry that forward. What I like to write about, and I like to talk about and think about is, if I could go forward, what would my 90-year-old or 100-year-old self tell me today that I would do? What behavior, what modification, what would I do that they would go, oh man, thank you so much. They'd like give me a big old warm hug, and just like hug me because they're old and somewhat infirm and frail, but they would just be thanking me and grateful that I did something. And I think that's a great thought exercise for folks to explore for themselves. We don't often think of ourselves as 80, 90, 100 years old, although Raghu, you mentioned you've got it on yours, but yeah, I know. But, so what would we do today, that would really make that journey that much better? And I start my book because, I lost my mother over the last year, and it was a challenging moment it was the most challenging moment I've ever had. And she said when she sort of was, decided she wasn't going to take chemotherapy and this and that, she was 83 years old. She said, my life's been a dream. She was comfortable. And that's really where you want to be. You want, when you're 80, 90, whatever, you want to look back and say, my life's been a dream. And so what can you, if I could go back, and what would I do today that I could ensure to say my life has been a dream? I really care for my family first. I'd take care of this body so I could have as much health span as I could, and keep connecting with folks like you. Most specifically, I'll get more aerobic. So I kind of backed off a little bit on my aerobic. This heart's a muscle. It needs to be exercised. It's like your bicep or whatever. It will atrophy if you don't use it. So for me, it's a little bit more aerobic capacity.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we're getting to this season now where, whether it's indoor or outdoor, as spring has finally sprung and summer's around the corner, swimming is such a great, fun activity. And like, you burn so many damn calories swimming. It's just like, there it is again. Do something you love. You love going to the beach, go to the beach, get a workout in, It's awesome.
TI, total immersion. If you're a swimmer, if you don't know TI, total immersion, look that up. That is like a breakthrough technology in swimming.
Yeah. I know a lot of people rehab. Obviously, they rehab in water, and the way that the body responds is much different. Dave, I don't want to speak for you here. I know you got a few things prepared, but you mentioned the Family Foundation was something you wanted to learn a little bit more about. So I want Jon to kind of hit on that. Yeah.
Love to learn, Jon, a little more on kind of philanthropy. How'd you get into it? And I'm always curious with folks, and I always ask the question is, how do you pick what to get into and why, right? I just always curious on it. I know it's hard for everyone's a little different, but.
Yeah, philanthropy has been something that's been in the family. I'm a third generation entrepreneur. So my grandfather, he grew up in hard times, but ultimately persevered as an entrepreneur, and he gave back to the community. So he started something called the Sabes Family Foundation. My father, in his own right, is a very successful entrepreneur in the restaurant bar business and other things. And he continued that tradition, I think, in honor of his parents. And so from my perspective, that's where I'm at. I'm kind of reaching that phase where I want to continue that. It's a great family tradition of giving back, to those who has given much is expected, and you should give back. And so, I guess, again, it's you follow your instincts, follow your interests. For me right now, it's challenged youth. Justice impacted youth. We need people, we need our young people to believe in the future, believe they have opportunity. I really believe everyone in this country has an incredible opportunity. I don't care race, color, creed, this, that, short, tall, big, small. You've got an incredible opportunity to be here and now living in this country. And so whatever I can do to help foster that, we need prosperity to spread. And so whatever I can do to young adults, that's kind of where I'm focused on right now. But that's sort of how I follow philanthropy.
I love it.
You have a really cool quote. I love this on your website. I'm going to read it. It's, the more I ask of myself, the more I can give to others. And one of the last questions I always ask on the show is, how do you define greatness? When I read that quote, the more I ask of myself, the more I can give to others. I'm like, damn, that's kind of defines greatness. How would you define greatness? And can you give us a little bit more on the thought on that quote?
Well, I think as to the quote, it's about expanding, yourself. As you expand yourself, your mind, your footprint, if you will, as you take care of yourself and your family, you can and are challenged and have the opportunity to give to others. You can do more for others. So I think that's how I think about it. I'm a lifelong learner. I don't ever want to stop learning. And as I learn, I can share that information. As I earn, I can share what I've earned back. And I guess that's how I describe greatness is, control your mind, achieve what is important to you, and give back along the way, and be thankful that you had the opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. Dave, you got anything else before we wrap up? I know we all have to kind of get rolling.
No, I was going to say, Jon, you're speaking my language. Love everything you're saying. I try to live my life or continue to live my life similar to where you are and where you're going. So just appreciate you jumping on. Grateful for the time. Certainly big fan. So just continue doing that and getting grateful for the time.
Yeah. Jon, my big takeaway is, a lot of times people tell you they write books or, they get up on stage and they're, telling you about this workout or this, what you should be doing for health. And half the time they're not even in great shape themselves, or they're not living the lifestyle they're preaching. Yep. But I know, again, we just met today, but I've checked out your book, and I'll also just see what you're doing like online, and you're actually out there like on Instagram. You're out there in the moment sharing it, and I can see you're living it and you're doing it. This is not fluff. It's not like, this really does mean something to you. Getting on a platform like today, I can tell this is what you're living to do. This is your story. And I just really appreciate it. Like, and what was great is it was all things people can actually take and run with. It wasn't something they need to go buy a program. Like, get started today, right? Get on a treadmill, eat healthy, get on purpose, and get in a community. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all right there for anybody. And I love your thought on like, there's no excuses, man. We got the internet, we have ChatGPT, we have resources, we got accessible capital through private investments nowadays that didn't exist 100 years ago. Like, what is your excuse? There is none.
For sure.
Right? Better be a good one.
So, dude, you're awesome. I really appreciate you being on the show. Welcome to the Mic'd Up family. You're the man. Keep doing your thing. And I love to end every episode just reminding everybody to be great and be grateful. And Dave, Jon, I'm grateful for you guys. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Likewise, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Jon.